I'm sure people seen, well, I know not everybody's seen it, but a number of people seen the advert that members of the organisation took out in the newsletter, which we do sometimes, where the victims feel that their point has not been put across and how they feel, but also they like to stay in touch with the rest of the community to see, is this only victims that think like this, or is there other people out in the community who think like this? And the response we got back was brilliant. It's just unbelievable. Now, what you see in front of me here is not from any people within our organisation, because we had contacted as many of the victims groups and as many of our own victims as possible to tell them not to reply, because we wanted to see the reaction from the community, irrespective of what our feelings were. Because if the rest of the community want to forget about it and move on, well, there's not much we can do about that. But I can assure you, and you only have to look at the response here, that that is not the case. What the victims are saying and how the victims feel is what the community actually feels. And for a percentage rate, we've asked the people who do these sort of things, what type of percentage is this from a newspaper when you take an ad like this out? And they said it's phenomenal. That you don't usually get replies like this. And I have to state, it also says you can either vote yes or no on this. And it's about supporting terrorists. Do you support the terrorists or Republicans being in government? Do you trust them? Do you trust the Republican movement? And the response has been a resounding no, they do not. And this is not even the victims replying. This is the people from within the communities. Anybody can come and look at these. They're open for anybody to come and take a look at. Because we always like to back up what we're saying with evidence, unlike some people. Basically, this is the responses from the papers. There's hundreds of them. Now, let me see. Well, here's one. This Even People has took the time to write letters with them. And this here letter states how it has followed the process that's been going on and how disgusted they are with how victims are being dealt with. There's now one letter on it. Carrickfergus, Dear Willie, retired RUC. Fair is doing an excellent job. You've undertaken a big task and people appreciate the work being done by the victims for the victims. Now, that's somebody we've never met before. That's what you're coming up again. Now, we also received a number of emails, and let's go through here. Right, here's one here. Wally, not a question of thrust. They have told us many times it is only a stepping stone to a united Ireland. Pity the DUP do not believe them. Most of the unionists do. Keep up the good work. Sam. Let me see, let's pick another one here somewhere. Let's see this. Where is this man coming from? He insults the victims, yet sits with the people who made you victims. You're right, Willie, about the fat cats. Sorry, this is going on a bit further than actually what was asked about. But basically, no, they do not trust Sinn Féin IRA. Do you believe that Republicans can be trusted? Straightforward, no. Do you believe that Republicans can be trusted? No. Do you believe that Republicans can be trusted? No. We go through them. Not one person sent back a reply that stated, yes, we do support what's happening. Not one. But people took time, hundreds of people took time to send these replies back to us. Now, that should tell people within the community the feelings there is there, or most importantly, hopefully it will tell our politicians the feeling there is within the community. People need to remember when they're looking at this that this is the response from one newspaper ad. Imagine if we asked the whole country to respond. What type of response would we have? It would be phenomenal. The question we asked in this advert was quite simple. Can the Republicans be trusted? Can Sinn Féin IRA be trusted? And the answer is quite simple. No, they can't. So there's no confusion in case people try to twist this round. Straightforward question, can you trust the terrorists of the past and the present, Sinn Féin IRA? And the answer, clearly coming back from the community, is no, you cannot. And I can guarantee you that these are not people that we're involved with. These are not the victims that are in FAIR or in other victims groups that we know of it. Now, they may be involved. I know there's some of them involved in the RUC, George Cross, they're involved in the UDR associations. I know they're involved in all them things because some of them has writ on it that they actually are involved with them. But the thing they say is they do not trust Sinn Féin. That is the main point that's come out of all this. Now, we were promised back a number of years ago, a matter of fact, right up to a number of months ago, that Sinn Féin IRA, the people who created the victims within this country, would have no input whatsoever, and I'll say it again, would have no input whatsoever in dealing with the victims that they created. Not only have they not got an input, they are in a position to block our funding. So the people they terrorised and butchered for 35 years is now getting any help that they can give blocked by the very people who created them. And yes, we can't reach every individual victim. I agree with that. But we reach quite a few of them. But the other thing you could do is you can go on to our website and download this document. You can print it off and it'll come off this way here, where we give you a view of what the victims think and how the victims see the situation at this present time. Because we want to move on. We do want to move on. But we can't allow ourselves to be conned. Go on and read this document. It's the views of the people within the victim sector. And a lot of them are the people who are still suffering today, who have lost limbs and have still dressed in their wounds, are still suffering 35 years ago. I was at a service there on Sunday for the biggest loss of life of our UC men in Newry. I knew quite a few of the fellas. One of them was actually a very good mate of mine. And a lot of the fellas over there, I remember them serving because we walked around the police stations in the early part of the Troubles. I remember them, and I remember the sacrifice that them men made. Even though they didn't lose their lives or perhaps were injured, the fact that they lived in the conditions that they did and lived under the threat that they didn't do it for Martin McGuinness to decide will they be entitled to a few pounds to help their people within their community or will they not. How big a disgrace could you have than the terrorists actually blocking funding going to the very people who's entitled to it, the people they made victims in the first place? We should be ashamed of ourselves.